Are you able to enjoy going to festivals just like as a consumer? I know like having like all the knowledge of working behind the scenes, does that impact your experience when you go out to festivals now?
Oh, yeah. I probably annoy all my friends because I'm like, that wire shouldn't be there, or like, that food truck's not licensed, or like, you know, a lot of the festivals here are so long-standing and are very well done and very well organized. So you also see the opposite where you're like, oh, we should do that. But yeah, it's like you're always on, like your brain's always on at concerts or festivals, but it's also fun and it's very interesting.
Welcome to Gritty History, a podcast from the City of Hamilton and Hamilton Civic Museums, taking you beyond the physical museums and diving into the fascinating stories from the city's past and present. In this audio series, we'll explore the people and places that make Hamilton, Ontario so special. Our first series, Liner Notes, digs into the work of Hamilton music. My name is Meredith Leonard, and I'm a senior curator at Hamilton Civic Museums. Joining me for this series is Russ Piva, aka Stereo Russ, musician and host of Inside the Music with Stereo Russ. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's press play. The music industry is powered by countless moving parts that most fans never see. Marketing, promotion, festivals, and live shows. There's a whole world working backstage. Our guest today sits at the intersection of all of those moving parts. Today we're joined by Lisa La Rocca, Director of Operations at Sonic Unyon Records.
Sonic Unyon is an independent record label and event management company formed in 1993. It represents dozens of iconic Canadian musicians, including Big Wreck and Tara Lightfoot, has created major local events such as SuperCrawl and Because Beer, produces many events including Juno Fest and Fresh Up Fest, and manages multiple venues including Mills Hardware and Bridgeworks.
Lisa oversees the label's major festivals and is deeply involved in Hamilton's cultural and economic development. Lisa chairs the Hamilton Music Advisory Team, serves on the board of the Hamilton-Halton Brant Regional Tourism Organization and the Downtown Hamilton BIA, as well as being the co-chair of the Women in Music Hamilton-Halton chapter. We're joined by Lisa today at CFMU Studios to talk all things events, labels, and music community. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Lisa, again, thank you so much for taking the time. You're one of the integral people in making this community really run. So I just want to know, first off, like, what is it that you do?
Yeah, see if I can answer that. I obviously work for a company that's very, very involved in the music scene from all aspects, being a label management company, working with artists directly, putting on live events with our festivals, and then now our venues. I have been involved in many of those aspects of the company as well. But I am much more on the live side now, especially with our festival side growing, with SuperCrawl as big as it is, but also the, tons of other events that we're doing now. That side has really grown for us. So I am very heavy on the festival side. I also do all of our grant writing. So that does involve working with the label and artists a lot of the time. And we have a small team, so we all pitch in and help with everything that we can.
So for those that don't know, not everyone, believe it or not everyone in Hamilton knows what SuperCrawl is.
I know.
I'm sure you've had this conversation.
Meet people, all the time.
So for those who the uninitiated, what is SuperCrawl?
Yeah, so SuperCrawl is a large music and arts festival. We call it a festival of discovery because we try to get everything we possibly can, all art forms. So obviously 2 big music stages, but we also have visual art installations, a huge fashion runway, dance, theater, literary readings, other performances, vendors, food trucks, local businesses, family zone, wrestling, skateboarding, everything we can fit in there. It's a weekend free festival on James Street North. We see about 275,000 people over the weekend is the estimate, and it's a lot of fun.
That's amazing. So just to kind of set the stage here, Sonic Unyon it sounds like it has 3 pillars. It has the events, which you focus primarily on, label management, and venue management.
Yeah.
And we're going to try and cover all 3 of those and also kind of obviously like focus on your work, and everything that you do.
Great.
So, Lisa, you and Sonic Unyon have both been amazing resources for the museum team in terms of doing some research and really pulling this exhibition together. And my absolute favorite photo in the exhibit is one that you shared of you and your brother as little kids with Jackie Washington at a festival. So clearly music has been part of your life from a really early age. Could you tell us a little bit about those early experiences and how they inspired your career?
Yeah, absolutely. So my dad used to work for Creative Arts, which ran Festival of Friends, Earth Song, and some other events back back in the 90s. He booked the music for those events for years. So when I was little, I was running around backstage at those events, one of them being Festival Friends, which is where those photos are taken. I think they're 1993 and 1995. And, all the artists, me and my brother were twins. We were like little cute festival dressed kids running around. And I thought Jackie Washington was like my best friend every time we ran backstage. And we would sit with him and eat our sandwiches or whatever, and then go buy some like local crafts, and really felt like a little festival kid. I always wanted to work in music. My brother's a visual artist, and I was always kind of interested in the music side, and somehow stumbled into festivals. I really started with Sonic Unyon to be with the label and working with artists, but somehow, stumbled into festivals, which I guess is in the family. So interesting coincidence, but have always loved them. I've always gone to all the local festivals, still do, including the ones that obviously we're not a part of. And that's even funner because I'm not stressed out the whole time. So yeah.
Are you able to enjoy going to festivals just as a consumer? I know having all the knowledge of working behind the scenes, does that impact your experience when you go out to festivals now?
Oh, yeah. I probably annoy all my friends because I'm like, that wire shouldn't be there, or that food truck's not licensed, or but I love, a lot of the festivals here are so longstanding and are very well done and very well organized. So you also see the opposite where you're like, oh, we should do that, or wow, that's a great idea, or I wish we could get all those volunteers. Where do they find them? But it's like you're always on, your brain's always on at concerts or festivals, but it's also fun and it's very interesting. So it feels like a little bit of research.
I imagine every day for you looks different. And I can't imagine putting on an event like SuperCrawl. And I want to know, when does the planning start? And when do things really start ramping up for you guys?
The planning starts pretty much right away because we're wrapping up the festival, but also grant writing starts. And for a lot of them, you have to have next year's plan. And that's right in the fall. So we're kind of one of the festivals kind of at the end of the summer, early fall. So all of the grants and all of the funding kind of start right after us. So we start planning, we start budgeting, artist calls go out, that kind of thing. It really gets quite stressful and a lot as we get into late spring, early summer. Also because we have a ton of other events. So this year we had Guelph Canada Day, and then we had done some work at Sound of Music, then Guelph Canada Day, then Because Beer, then SuperCrawl, then another Because Beer in Guelph, and then programming at the Pier. So it was everything once we get into June is a week or two apart, and you just got to keep moving. It's looking like next year we'll have even more events in that time frame. So yeah, I'd say June to forever is pretty wild. Then it doesn't stop. So I don't know, the whole year, I guess.
When you finish a project, you're so proud of it and that you think of all the little details. How do you manage all of those details, making sure everything's done properly? Because it seems from the outside perspective, that it goes off fairly well every year.
That's the trick. As long as it looks like it went off well. I was lucky enough, first of all, to start with the company when everything was a lot smaller. SuperCrawl was, had just done the very first one in a grass lot, no street closure. So I just missed the first one. So from the second year on, I've really been able to grow my skills and my knowledge with the festival. Since then, obviously, we've added a lot, but it is a lot harder to jump in. So sometimes we produce festivals for other people, or we come in as consultants. It's harder to jump in on a festival that's not yours and that you haven't been working on for 17 years, right? So I think a lot of that stuff is just mind memory and just down at this point. But also, very lucky to have a great team, to be able to slowly add people to the mix. Penny, for one, is the right hand on festivals and events and is a massive help because it is, tons of work and tons of details that you really have to keep very organized, which I think is what a lot of people don't realize. There's very small details that if they go wrong or you forget about them, it could look not like it went off well.
Can you give us an example?
I won't even get into safety and security and stuff because that's a whole planning thing on its own. That's the first thing my mind went to. But even just vendor placement, like sometimes I'm in the position because I'd really try to squeeze as many of them in as we can, where like if one tent gets set up 10 feet off, someone's not fitting. Like you think it's a big area and you think we have so much space, but with the layout of the street and how much we have packed into it and how much has to be considered as far as like getting them lighting and like sometimes I have exactly enough tents and there's like
to the foot,
4 feet. Yeah, like to the foot. If this goes 1 foot to the left, like someone's not setting up. And I mean, you would know. You've been on site.
I've set up those tents. I've set up those tents.
How specific that setup is.
If you're foot off, you're in front of a driveway or a fire hydrant or anything.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden everything's shifted and it could go bad really quick on that regard, and you have to disappoint someone. So we don't want to do that ever.
SuperCrawl is such an iconic event in Hamilton. In addition to being like really well organized and run like a really tight ship, is there something sort of about its essence that you think makes it so successful and such a great gathering place for the community?
Yeah, I think an important component of it always has been that it's downtown and urban. So it's on James Street. It's really in the core. People can access it easily. It's free, but also that it's in the urban space. So there's businesses and restaurants and, artist studios and all kinds of stuff and people living on the street as well, which I think is a really, really important piece to it. We've done park festivals and they're great and they each have different, sometimes like I wish SuperCrawl was in a park. Then you would have to deal with the driveways and the fire hydrants and all that emergency access. But I think they both have their strengths and weaknesses, but that really is the strength of SuperCrawl, just being there where the people and the business and the community is.
I'm sure like you have such a long history with SuperCrawl. Like a favorite moment is maybe not a fair question, but do you have a memorable moment or a story that you can share about the event?
Yeah, actually. There's tons. But when Charles Bradley played, I remember he got stopped at the border and he was really late. And when he finally arrived, he didn't have any of his luggage or anything. So we brought him to a local shop, which actually I don't think is on the street anymore by the name that it was. But anyways, we brought him to a local shop and had him pick out some clothes, and he picked out this like massive fur coat and these loafers, and had an amazing performance. That was one of my favorite probably performances we've ever had as well. But he was so excited, and then I met him backstage, and I have a picture of him like we're holding a rose. He's giving me a rose, and he was just talking about this coat, and he just loved the fur coat. Like it was almost like he might have lost the luggage on purpose, like at this point, because he just like this coat was just like the best thing ever. And all the pictures, he's just in this like massive fur coat, and it was great.
If you're enjoying this conversation, you might want to check out the Punching In exhibition, which explores the work of Hamilton's music scene, on display at the Visitor Experience Center, located at 28 James Street North throughout 2026. Now, back to our conversation.
I think the nice thing about SuperCrawl is that it doesn't matter if you're a performer, an organizer, someone who walks the street, like everyone has iconic memories of it. I think it really is an incredible and special event.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, people have gotten married at SuperCrawl, and then got the front cover of the spec. Like there's a lot of cool things that can happen when things are like open, and there's just so many different things going on. Sometimes we don't even know. We're surprised, and it's the coolest thing ever, and we had no idea it was going to happen. So
there's a lot of sort of ingredients that go into sort of making the space. If you could tell us a little bit about like the art of that, sort of like programming a space, but also creating spaces for alchemy and for iteration within that festival. Is that sort of a difficult thing to balance? Is that intentional, or does that sort of just happen because of the magic of the people involved?
I mean, with Art Crawl happening every month, a lot of that is natural to the space. But, we have to come in sometimes as the bad guys, and, we have a different type of insurance, different type of safety plan, and sometimes we have to squash dangerous activities, which is my least favorite job. But otherwise, it's really, about creating different spaces so that when those things happen. So the art zone, for example, is usually a bit quieter. It's usually a space for people to kind of not be in chaos, first of all, but sometimes different buskers will pop up there and have a really great response. Obviously, the stages are crazy for their own, cause, but I think it's about creating a bunch of different spaces for different interests and different engagement levels. Family zone as well. The fashion zone, some really cool things have happened there, like pop-up stuff. So it's about all of the zones that I think we create that like invite different things in each area. You're not just like feel like you're at a packed, crazy loud concert in every area that you're in.
Yeah, it was great. You see see young people and you see people with like their small children and everybody's having an amazing time. And it's such an interesting space where there's so many concurrent experiences happening together.
And the fashion and the costumes now, like people come in like dressed as all kinds of things or in really cool fashion or like obviously we all know Lewis Mallard and he started at SuperCrawl in the duck suit, but just like the cool things that you see walking by, I think it's a great weekend for people to just come out and do what they want to do.
You hear the term label thrown around a lot, and you're going to get a question that you probably answer every day. What does a label do?
Yeah, good question. We do label and we do management services, which gets even more confusing because some of the artists that we work with are both on our label and management clients, and then some are one or the other. So that makes it even more confusing.
Could you actually kind of parse those out a little bit for us?
Sure, yeah. So label is we're usually licensing or paying for a recording. And that's by like an album or EP or project basis. We're usually licensing for 5 years, for example. So we're sharing in the project with you for 5 years, marketing it, selling it, distributing it through our distribution partners and setting up, the release and basically the marketing of that. On the management side, your manager is the manager of your career. So whereas the label's revenues come from sale of the music and use of that licensed project, the manager is helping with all aspects of your career, especially when you don't have other representatives. So they might be booking for you if you don't have an agent. They're obviously working with your label on the recording. They might be getting your name out there and working on those relationships and anything they can do to get you, more gigs, more sales, more fans. They're kind of like overarching, filling in all the roles, and they're getting a percentage of everything you make as well. So when you're doing both, it's a really nice match because obviously we know that music revenues the sale of music is not the best right now. Streaming revenues are not what they were, and a lot of artists, especially local artists, do really well, like offstage selling their physical music. But the management helps because first of all, we can help with every aspect of the career and not worry about stepping on any toes. But also, there's different revenues than that we can use to help the artist's career. So we're also getting our percentage of like their live shows, which can in turn like help their next project or, everything.
This label, I believe, started with a band. Is that true?
Yeah. So yeah, the original owners of the label, Tim, Mark, and Sandy, were part of the band Tristan Psionic. And basically there's a really great Sonic Unyon documentary that we did for the 25th anniversary. But basically, they were like, if no one's going to sign us, we're going to put a community together ourselves. And they were working with other bands that they liked, and they created just like a community, and they would all like help each other put like CD or cassette packages together and make their promo. And then they started shopping it around. So when they would be touring with the band, they would stop into a record shop and be like, we're going to leave 5 of these here. We'll be back. And then, that's distribution. And then, just started. And then they were working with a lot of like-minded bands and started the label. And I think very quickly were really respected and envied by like nearby cities and communities that were like, wow, they kind of got it together and they're kind of working hard. But yeah, at the base of our company, it was always just like really, really hardworking people and love of music.
And for those listening, if you listen back to a previous episode, we talked to Catherine North. We kind of got into the recording side of things. So once your song's recorded and edited, you would then, a certain artist might join a label or get some sort of management to help them promote that music, get shows, do merch and all that. And I know that Sonic Unyon, kind of in its like late 90s, was known as one of the physical music distributors for Canada. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Well, for smaller labels worldwide, but yeah, in Canada, one of the larger independent distributors. Yeah.
So my question for you, being that obviously late 90s, CD and vinyl distribution was huge. How has I know you've kind of answered this question, but how has a label like Sonic Unyon been able to pivot and survive through the changes in music distribution?
Yeah. It's funny because they still had probably not the full size that they had in the 90s, but part of the warehouse with the physical when I started, and still had the distribution arm to the company. That kind of went, and live events replaced that. But it really is, and you'll see a lot of music companies had to take quite a large pivot. Sonic Unyon and, the owners have always loved local artists and releasing local music, and especially music they were passionate about and they were fans of. So that I feel like is always going to continue. But as things shifted, revenues really shifted live for artists as well. So bringing on the management piece as we lost the distribution arm to the company also helped because, again, we're supporting artists, but getting some of the live revenue. Same with all live events, the festivals, the venues. Like you really see a massive shift to live, but artists still need to make art and good music for any of that to work as well. But yeah, so I would say just a shift to live from selling physical.
Can you share any artist success stories that have worked with you or with Sonic Unyon, either on the label or the management side or even through events?
Yeah. Tara Lightfoot has been an artist with us pretty much since I started. So I've watched a lot of her career take shape, and I think she's really built a great name for herself in Canada, in the Hamilton local music scene, but also, in Canada and abroad. And it's been really cool to watch that. She's definitely, of her current roster, like the longest standing. I've just been able to watch every step of her career happen and all of the amazing things she's been able to do. And I think Hamilton's always really happy when she comes home to do a show too, and she's played a lot of our festivals. So yeah, that's a really, really nice one, and she's a great friend to all of us.
Let's talk a little bit about careers here. For someone like yourself who went to school for it, you're currently still in school for it, getting your PhD. For someone who, sees what you're doing, or maybe they don't even know that you're doing it, but they see events happening, or they know there's a label. You are a prime example of someone who, you've manifested it, you're doing it. So what are some thoughts, some recommendations you might give to someone who's maybe a bit younger, who wants to maybe be in your shoes one day? Yeah.
I think, first of all, there's a lot of roles in the music industry that people don't even really realize exist. They're sent from music rights organizations to venue workers and promoters and bookers and all kinds of stuff, whether you're a creative or you want to work on the industry side. And I think that a lot of people that we get, that want to be interns or want to work with us, they have the same couple roles in their head. It's usually like PR, marketing, social media, which is great. And there's a lot of roles, especially if you're really, really good at it. There are a lot of roles in those areas. But I think first just talking to people and really figuring out, the types of roles, seeing if you can, I started as an intern and then volunteered for quite a while before I was, a full-time employee. So not telling anyone to work for free when they shouldn't be, but getting in there, getting in the community, making people, recognize your face and know your name. And if there are volunteer opportunities, taking them, and just figuring out the roles and what you like and what you want to do and what kind of company you want to work for. Small companies, large companies, completely different in the music industry. So what you actually want to do. Spoke to someone who thought they wanted to be a tour manager and then figured out that, that is just all travel and you're barely ever home. And, some people that really, really is their passion and some people hate it. So you might think what you might think you want to do is not what you end up doing. But I would just recommend figuring out the roles, talking to people. Most people will grab a coffee with you or take a little bit of a mentorship role if you, actually have some thoughtful questions and some meaningful things that you want to get out of it and you're not wasting their time. So just meeting as many people as you can. And it's all about who you know, and it's all about your network in this industry. So building that as early as you can.
What are some ways that people can, I know you kind of already alluded to it, but maybe specific, like ways that they could get to know people or maybe find volunteer opportunities? Yeah.
Volunteer opportunities, the easiest is in like festivals, but no matter where you want to work in the music industry, you can meet anyone in the music industry probably at a festival or a live event because there's managers there, there's agents there, there's artists, there's event people, and any of the conferences. So like, I know we don't have CMW anymore. It's Departure now. If they're ever, if they have volunteer roles, you're just getting a lot of the industry in one place. The other thing is just look for like networking events and other industry events. A lot of them that aren't even really billed as networking events could be like a holiday party or a showcase or a gathering. They are actually open to anyone who wants to come. And surprisingly, you see the same faces at all of them. So there's room for more people to be coming to this stuff. So I would say look in, Hamilton and Toronto, as if you're in this area. We're doing some things through HMAD and Women in Music and some of the other groups in Hamilton that there's like opportunities, but there's tons of stuff in Toronto too. And just get to everything you can.
And building on that, are there certain skills or qualities that really have helped you be successful in your role?
I think from like an educational perspective, being in communications and writing well definitely helped because grant writing since the beginning was always quite a big piece of my job. But even when I was, helping out with marketing or, proposals or any other piece, basically, even writing, contracts or vendors or whatever, like really being a strong writer and having some communication skills in that respect really, really helped. Grant writing is another thing to like kind of get you in the industry. Everyone's looking for a grant writer. So learning that is a good tip. But yeah, and the other thing is just like I'm out all the time. And I think networking is extremely important. And I think I got to a point where I was working really, really hard, working all the time, nonstop, all day and all night. But I was like, nobody knows me. Like when I say the company name, people are like, oh yeah. But like nobody recognized my face and nobody recognized my name. And I was like, I got to get out to these things and I have to be the person that they see at all these events so that they start to recognize me. And now I've been lucky enough to be asked to speak at conferences and events like that. And I hope that I'm kind of building a more of a name for myself. But I think that becomes important as well in building your career because you can lock yourself in your room and write grants until 4 a.m. every day. And nobody would be the wiser unless you put yourself out there.
This is a question from the musician side of things. So maybe they want to work with the label one day or they want management or they want to, play at one of your events or an event in general. What does it take to be a successful musician?
First of all, like locally, I feel like we have a pretty good finger on the pulse and we're aware of what's going on. And a lot of the time, I don't want to say opportunities will come to you when you're ready, but a lot of the time, if you're putting yourself out there and you're networking and you're making sure people are aware of you, for performances, for example, the size of stage that you're ready to play will come. So if you've played our venues a number of times, we've seen you and it's been really great. You might be booked for like a smaller event somewhere, an outdoor opportunity, open street, something like that. And then eventually SuperCrawl. And I think a lot of like what I tell artists is a little bit of patience does help really in that success and knowing that those opportunities will come if you're doing the right things. A lot of time there's like an urgency, like I need the biggest show now, or I need to be on the biggest stage now. And really like we're watching, and there's a path that a lot of artists follow to get to those bigger opportunities. And it's the same with a label or a manager. You don't want someone who's going to hand you a deal on day one. Like we are a smaller company, so we do take longer to sign somebody because we don't have a huge roster anyways. But you do want a lot of back and forth. You do want to have like a dating period anyways. And you do want to make sure that we want to make sure it works for us, but you want to make sure it's going to work for you as well. And a deal, you know, a year down the line of us, you know, kind of feeling it out is going to be better for you than when you get in the first week, right? So I think patience and just like doing all the steps. And I hate the idea that like you can skip all the steps and like this is going to be like the social media post that sets it off, like do all that. But like that's not how it works. And most of the artists that you see that you're like, they blew up or you know, they had something go viral, like they've also been working at it forever. And the thing that went viral was actually supported by a massive team that they built over the last 5 years. Like they are actually signed to a major. You just didn't know. So yeah, I think patience and doing all the steps in between will eventually get you up the staircase versus like trying to jump or whatever.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I was at one of the networking events this week and patience came up there.
Yeah, if we tell you we're watching you and, you know, eventually you'll get booked for SuperCrawl, you probably will. I think most of those things we've actually come through on, but it's like we're waiting until you're ready and we're waiting until you're a good fit. Maybe we're waiting for the right headliner that would actually give you a great opportunity to open for them or something. But trust that the industry members that you trust too and the community that you trust, don't trust them all. But if they seem supportive and seem like they're, you know, working for you, just trust that they're trying to get you the best opportunity for you as well.
Could you tell us who some of your favorite Hamilton artists are, past or present, that you'd like to share, or even maybe someone you'd like to hype who's upcoming?
I mean, I always say Jackie Washington. We already talked about him. But current artists, I mean, there's a lot of people doing really, really great things. I think there's a lot of people that I've been watching again for a number of years that are doing great things. KT and KP, K-Triggs, also a great community member with 905 Fest, and he's just building everything. But I think they have a really cool thing that they're doing right now. And just like the whole community, obviously James Favre on Smoothie Lou, I'm like, all my friends. But it feels like they're friends because I've watched them in the industry for so long and really build from what was a more scattered like hip hop community. And now I'm seeing them all like have careers that are taking a bit of shape. So it's really cool. Who am I forgetting? I'm probably forgetting everyone. Everybody.
You've forgotten everybody.
Everybody. But no, we have such a strong local community and so many people that are coming up, and I'm sure as soon as we turn these mics off, we'd be like, oh no, I have to apologize to that person for not mentioning them. But yeah, there's just so much.
And it must be so gratifying for you too to see people come up and like have that success that you saw them early and they were talented, and just to sort of watch them go through the motions and then get there. Yeah,
absolutely. And again, seeing them like want to play SuperCrawl too. All three of those people have played SuperCrawl, or seeing them, you know, at our venues, seeing like 500 local applications come in for SuperCrawl, and every year like working towards booking more of those acts and feeling like we're, you know, almost getting there. But then there's new ones, and that's great. But trying to just really give everyone opportunities, and I think we're lucky to have a lot of platforms to do that.
Lisa, is there anything else that you wanted to share? Anything that came to mind that we didn't touch on?
I think in Hamilton, and obviously with me pushing Fresh Up Fest as hard as I do, I think that we have a lot of, especially genre-based communities, but communities of different people that are really working hard and building. And I think it's important that we not only make space for all of that, but that people understand their role in building those communities. So I just talked about some up and coming, hip hop artists they're really working in that community. But I think that it's really, really important that when you see something like that happening, that you do make an effort to, make it to the shows, like their posts or listen to the song that they're releasing, because that is the community is what makes it happen. And we hear a lot of the times, people want opportunities that we can provide, but everybody has a role in building that up. We can do more if there's more people active as well. So I think it's important to see what people are trying to do and supporting them and realizing that it could be a great show you really want to make it out to, and maybe you're a bit tired. Push yourself to go. It's important, and it's important that there's audience and that there's people present at everything that we do. So please come out.
Yeah, support live music.
Support live music.
Lisa, thank you so much for taking the time. For all you listening, thank you so much, and have yourselves a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Gritty History Podcast, brought to you by the City of Hamilton and Hamilton Civic Museums. This episode was hosted by Meredith Leonard and Russ Piva. Produced and edited by Stereo Russ Media. Original music by Emma Whale. This series' episodes were recorded at CFMU Studios at McMaster University, Catherine North Studios, and Bridgeworks. If you enjoyed listening, please share this podcast with someone who loves all things Hamilton and history. Please rate, review, and subscribe. If you'd like to explore more, you can visit us online at hamiltoncivicmuseums.ca. Thank you for listening.